Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays, at 10 a.m., and exclusively, on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live, on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page, and YouTube channel.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and happy Independence Day. You're tuned in to Dependency on I-95.5 FM, also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm Garth.
And I'm Natasha. Today, on our nation's birthday, we're exploring another kind of independence, freedom from addiction and the power of recovery. Our very special guest today is Beverly Morson, who has been in recovery for over 30 years and is the founder of Serenity Place Empowerment Centre for Women.
We'll hear Beverly's story, including her early struggles, her relapse, and how she built a safe haven for women. We'll also take you through highlights of our visit to Collins Bay Institution in Canada, and later in the program, the first of 5-part series called Freedom Interrupted, presented by Adrian Alexander of Free the Slaves.
So stay with us. We are sharing real stories with real people and in real recovery. We're gonna take this break, or you wanna?
Before we go to that break, we just want to let all you who listening this morning, if you know someone who out there struggling with disease of addiction, let them tune in this morning to us. Beverly here with us. We know there are a number of you out there struggling. Sometimes we can't do anything but referrals, but for the women, you also know that there's a place for you in Cochran Village at the Serenity Place. Beverly, who directs the operation down there, will take you through that this morning. Who needs to come? Who needs to listen? Who needs to surrender? You'll hear all about that this morning. And of course, we'll give you another sneak peek into Collins Bay Institution in Canada. You won't believe how beautiful that place is. You'll never believe it's a prison. And we cannot show you everything because, like I said last week, we have to package it properly and present it to the Ministry of Homeland Security. And when we do, then we can show you the entire thing. So all we're just giving you is little snippets, but just to to entice your taste buds, and also to get your thoughts on should we have facilities here now and with regard to corrections. We think it's time. I think it's the time now. It's here for it, and the ministry is interested in doing that. So we do the research and we'll present it to them. All right, so just a quick morning to Beverly. Morning, Beverly.
Good morning, Garth and Natasha. Good morning to Trinidad and Tobago, and happy independence to all.
Yes, and thank you very much for being with us.
Indeed. All the way from Point Fortin this morning. So happy independence again, Trinidad and Tobago.
And I guess everybody at Serenity Place is okay?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to take a break, and when we return, we get going with Beverly Morson. And those of you struggling with addiction out there, especially women, this program is for you as well. We'll be right back.
Mr. Dobson here from HMP London. Can I speak to Mr. James, please?
This is Mr. James speaking.
Thank you. Can you hold the line? I have a call coming through to you, sir.
Sure.
Hello, Daddy.
Hello, yes, Brian?
Daddy, I'm just calling to tell you that locked up in the UK for drug trafficking.
Oh, yeah? You lock up? And you tell me I was going to Bago? And I tell you about them boy I was liming with? Well, alright. Don't drop the soap. Carry on.
Eye on Dependency. Reality radio at its best every Sunday on I 95.5 FM.
Slavery, a terrible time in our history. The kidnapping, buying and selling of people for profit, the exploitation of another human being. It still exists today. It has a new name: human trafficking. Anyone can be a victim. There is forced labor, sexual exploitation, and domestic servitude. Human trafficking is a worldwide problem and an emerging concern for us here in Trinidad and Tobago. If you know of or suspect human trafficking activity, call the counter-trafficking hotline at 800-4CTU or 800-4288. Human trafficking is a crime. Identify it, report it, stop it. A message from the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Join us this Sunday for episode 35 of Eye on Dependency, where every life is a biography.
This Sunday on Independence Day, Eye on Dependency continues the conversation with women in recovery. In studio will be Beverly Morson, a woman celebrating over 30 years in recovery and the founder of Serenity Place Empowerment Centre for Women.
In my own recovery, my first attempt was when I went to Cora. And when I came out after 5 months, I went back to using.
Her story reminds us that Independence Day isn't just about a nation, it's also about personal freedom from addiction.
It come out of my own addiction, me wanting to give back, because while I was outside using, a lot of people reach out to help me.
Beverly's journey of resilience, relapse, and redemption, and how one woman's vision became a safe haven for many, is one you don't want to miss. Listen live this Independence Day from 10 a.m. on I 95.5 FM, or watch live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. The Counter-Trafficking Unit, Ministry of Homeland Security brings you Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
All right, so we are going to begin our interview now with Beverly Morson, who's no stranger to Eye on Dependency and should be no stranger to you, our loyal audience. We're not going to focus so much on her drug using past, but how she found recovery, how recovery has been for her, what kind of experience it has been, and also her relationship with Serenity Place, how it came about, and how she has been able to create a space, especially for women who went through the same struggles that she did while she was using. So, Beverly, again, welcome to Eye on Dependency. What was the turning point for you when you decided you could not keep going the way you were going?
Well, I actually had 2 episodes. The first was when my brother, he recognized that I was embarrassing him in the community, and and I was embarrassing the family, I was embarrassing myself, and he kept coming and talking with me and telling me, no, I need to do something about my life. And
So you were on the street?
No, I was still in the house using,
your drug of choice was?
Cocaine.
Right.
Cocaine. And I wasn't actually on the street living yet, but I was spending more time out than in.
How old were you then?
I was about 29, somewhere around there.
So for the benefit, before you go on, for the benefit of those out there who listening and getting introduced to some form of activity or substance daily, how were you introduced to crack cocaine?
I was introduced to crack cocaine through a friend. I was already into marijuana and alcohol and cigarettes and all those things. And then a friend who at the time was supposed to be a friend, I had an incident with a gentleman, a young man, a relationship that I had, and he went away and he got married to somebody else, and I didn't know how to deal with that. And so this friend knew, and I confided in her. But I was already also selling drugs for these people. And the man's wife introduced me to crack cocaine when I found out that the guy got married, 1 month later after he left. And it was in partner. We had a joint account, and he took all the money and he left.
Wow.
And when I found out that I didn't know how to deal with that, so I was all in a mess, crying and carrying on. And the woman said, "Girl, it have more fishes in the sea. What are you worrying about him for? Look, this gonna help you." And that was when I was introduced to crack cocaine. Now, I was snorting cocaine and all of that before, but that was when I was introduced to crack. Yes. And the feeling I got, man, I became a vagrant looking for. I was always in search of that feeling. That first feeling from that taste of crack, I went in search of and became a vagrant.
I know that. I know that feeling. And it's strange you never get it back.
No,
that's the thing,
you're searching and you can't get back that feeling. But you feel every smoke after that, you still feel you're going to get it.
Yes.
But you never get it.
I'm so happy that Beverly explained it like that, because this is what I try to tell people. You go in search for years. Some people for years.
Yes.
Just Friday, I met Sheldon Aberdeen, and he told me he ready to try again, but Sheldon had been to rehab at least 10 times, and still searching. So your turning point, as you started to explain, was when your brother approached you.
Right, and he said, he knew somebody who in his workplace who could help me, and if I would welcome the help. And I said, okay, no problem. And the guy came and he visited me where I was living at the time, and he told me about recovery and coming to meetings, and he could help me get into Cora and all of that. And I agreed, right? Not wholeheartedly, I agreed first by blaming my brother and my family, as they have me in the position that I'm in, and I want to get out. Yes, no problem. And so I agreed when he told me to come, and he got me into Cora.
Okay.
But it was not, going into Cora was not my intention to stop using drugs. It was a way I wanted to control my drug use. I wanted to look good again, and still be able to take care of my children, still be able to have money and spend some on drugs and some on the children, I wanted to be, that was my intentions, that was my mindset in going into Cora.
And how many children you had by then?
2.
Okay.
And it was so much so gas that I hid my mesh and my bottle and all of that in the lat in the ceiling, so when I come back out that I could get it to use, because I didn't go in because I wanted to stop. I went in because I wanted to have some control and manage, yes, and after 6 weeks in Cora, I came out. What I discovered about myself in Cora is that I could have write, and I wrote poetry. My first poem was Life as an Addict, And I got up 4 o'clock in the morning in Cora and started writing, and that, you know. So I started writing poetry. And when I came out of Cora, and, you know, people, well, I used to go to any meetings, and going to the meetings, I introduce my poetry, and they recognize, wow, I could really write. So they had any anniversary, and they asked me to come and read some of my poetry, and I did. And it was a celebration. So after that, I felt so good, and I wanted to celebrate. And I got involved with another recovering addict, and that celebration was a weekend binge of drug use.
Wow.
You know, I get back into it, and you know, the guy said, he actually said, girl, you could take, I say, boy, I ain't want no smoke. He said, no, girl, that ain't good. You had to celebrate, look how good you did, and I went for that.
Somebody who has been through the same process that you have is now encouraging you to celebrate.
Yes, to celebrate in that manner.
In that way,
right?
yes.
And I went for that, and that celebration took me to vagrancy. You know, that celebration, I just kept going on and on and on and never stopping. I've been raped and battered and beaten, and, you know, you name it, I did it. Every drug coming to the country, I was in part of it, with the exception of heroin, because needles are not into.
Right.
You know.
And how long did that last before you realized, wait, this, I need a second nuclear blast, as we say.
Right. So after Cora, I lasted about a year outside. Yes, outside, just selling my soul to crack my brain. You know, stealing from my children, the clothes off their backs, the food from their mouth, the shoes off their feet. You know, even selling their thoughts. You know, and when I say selling their thoughts, it was like my son will come and say, Mommy, I now remember we could go by Uncle and get her $5 to buy a bread because it have nothing in the house to eat. You know, and I didn't think about that, and I say, yes, boy, come. And as he come back with the $5, I say, come, I will go and buy the bread. And that was it. I ain't going and buy no bread. That was a $5 to buy an next ball.
Right.
You know, and I just continued. So that's when I said.
And you left them home waiting on that bread?
Yeah, waiting on the bread. And I on the street in the cemetery. You find me anywhere. You know. It wasn't a nice thing. It was a very sad, you know.
You know,
what about your what about your family at this point? Because they probably thought your trip to Cora meant that you were going to stop using.
Exactly.
So when you relapsed, how did they react to that?
Well, they didn't want anything at all to do with me, because when I went to Cora, they were so happy. My brother, who lives in the States, he sent me a whole barrel of stuff.
Oh, Lord.
You understand? Because they were so happy. They thought, right, well, I get off the drugs and I do it.
Yes.
And boy, I sell the barrel and all.
Okay.
I sell the barrel and all, you know. And I, you know, one day I sell a pants that my son father sent some clothes for him too, and I sell a pants. I sell it to the pusherman. Right. And one day we by the window, and he say, "Mommy, look, that man have a pants just like mine." Not knowing it's his pants, the man have them.
Oh my word!
You know, and so, you know, it was a painful journey, downhill journey. Yeah. You know, and what made me want to stop after that was that one day I was living in the cemetery in Arima.
And you were living in the cemetery?
Yeah, well, I went and sit down in a tomb.
Practically
smoking, yes. Smoking in a tomb and a day. And once I had, man, it's there, sit down in that tomb, and I just keep going, go get a little more money, get a smoke, and I run back in the tomb, and that is where I was.
Who's the owner of the tomb? You know who was?
No.
He wasn't studying that.
I didn't have time for that.
What?
You know, in a tomb in a cemetery.
No, you better than me, because I used to pass cemetery straight. I was going. What? In a tomb?
Yes.
And you didn't feel no how?
No, plenty of this. We used to be in the tomb. It was comfortable. You have a covering. You know, and you sit down inside there. It's a cozy place.
In a tomb, Beverly?
Yes, it was cozy.
Oh, Jesus.
That is how
Trinidad and
sick-
Tobago.
Smoking among the dead.
I
Oh,
am
God.
familiar with Beverly for years. years. And I didn't know this part. Beverly, in a tomb, you're saying?
Yes, in a tomb. That was a cozy, comfortable place, and nobody in coming to hustle you and jostle you except addicts like yourself.
Right.
You understand? You not to be peeping to watch to see who come in. You understand? You're comfortable inside that.
A quote unquote safe place.
Yeah.
And now, were there any other young ladies with you, or any females
Yeah,
around?
I think there was one lady, but most was male.
Right.
Yeah, but she didn't last long because she couldn't handle the cemetery, see. You understand?
Yeah,
I was
that's
the
not
hero
for
in the
everybody.
cemetery.
You're the one.
The hero in the cemetery. That's how I have to say.
You know, people
So you
listening and they
never-
feel this
Did
is
you ever experience anything kind of supernatural? What people might normally be afraid
I was
of?
too high and too into the drugs to
Right.
see or understand that or recognize that if it was there.
Okay.
so no green man or spirit or nothing in that
No,
cemetery.
I saw that when I was in the house. I
In-
saw the fig trees moving. I thought it was soldiers coming to break down the house.
Yeah.
That was when I was home. I never see that in the cemetery.
In the cemetery.
Mhm.
People who listening will feel that this is no makeup stuff, you know, because
it's not.
No, because
Real
I
life.
remember as you saying, I remember going to buy crack. I used to take my time and get everything and go back home. But there were the times when I couldn't wait to reach home. So I would duck in an old house or
Anyway.
in a drain.
Yes.
You know. Okay, so it was wow. Wow. And did it dawn on you then, Beverly, this is not making sense? Look, you take up residence in a tomb to smoke and that
At
never
that time, no. At that time, no. It was any port for a storm.
Right.
Right? And I was a stupid drug addict. Yeah, I was a dotage drug addict because I was a follower. Now, I had no self-esteem from childhood growing up. You understand? So, anywhere you take me, I go in.
Right.
Right? And I was fooled so many times and given candle grease wrap up in foil for drugs.
Yes.
Right? And exchanging sex for that, and thinking that it's drugs are getting, you know. So I was real dotish to put it that way.
Right.
You know, so I didn't have time to think that, that I'm doing what I'm doing, and, I wasn't paying attention to that,
So you were using in this cemetery and something happened. What was the turning
No,
point? from
when
there?
in the cemetery, I run out of stuff. I run out of friends. I run out of people close. So every time I run out of something on the street, I would go back to the house.
Right.
In search of what could I find. By this time, I already sold the light fittings. I already sold the stove burners, the gas tank, you name it, everything, the children's clothes, everything. And this day I left the cemetery in desperation, going back to the house in search of something to sell again. And it was there when I pulled a door and saw my 3-year-old daughter with all the paraphernalia. She's fighting to scratch a match and have I don't know where she found that time. No, I never smoke in front of the children. But then the house that I was living in had holes, so I am assuming that they were peeping through the holes.
Right.
And this little girl there with this thing and the toilet paper, and she fighting, and that God, I actually wake up from my whatever I was into. And I saw this little girl and I was like in shock. And I said, oh my God, I am creating an addict out of my own daughter. And I have to stop. I have to find a way to stop. And that was my turning point, my 3-year-old daughter. And I snatched it and ran out the house. And every smoke I took after that, I saw that little girl. And that's what drive me. That was my motivation to get out of that life.
Wow. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are speaking with Beverly Morson. Beverly, who is now director of Serenity Place Empowerment Centre for Women. decided that she's going to turn her life around and invest in saving the lives of other people. So she's taking us on a journey here this morning on some of the things that I'm hearing for the first time. And, you know, Beverly is a true soldier in this field, one of the experts in this field. Let me just stress that. You know, Beverly is you know, what was there a moment when you so I guess that was the moment when you said I can forgive myself and even try again?
Yes, I decided there and then I could not go back. Any opportunity, I was in search now for the opportunity to stay clean, to get help. Right? I knew I couldn't help myself. Right? And where I was living was surrounded by drug users, pushers, everything. So I knew I had to find a way to stop.
Right.
But what was happening also, I used to still go to any meetings, but not for the purpose of the meeting, to solicit, to get some money. I want money to buy bread for the children. I want money to buy milk, you know.
Right.
And there was this gentleman, he's passed away now, Mr. Barry Simon. He came to pick me up to go to the meeting, and he said, Beverly, I don't want to go back to a treatment center. And I snatched at that, because that flash of that little girl was depicted, and I said yes. And he told me where to go, what time to go to New Life Ministries, and, you know, and I took that opportunity. And the day when I had to go to New Life Ministries, I sat in my gallery, and my son, my eldest son, sat there with me till about 2 o'clock in the morning, and begging everybody who I see passing to get money to get transport to go to New Life Ministries. Nobody wants nothing to do with me.
Right.
As far as they're concerned, I'm a no good, a drug addict, you know. And my son said, Mommy, I'm sleepy, you know, I could go in my bed. And I said, yes. He said, but before he went to his bed, he said, but how you will go? I said, don't worry, I will go. And he went to his bed, and I sat in that gallery, falling asleep. And then I jump up, and when I watched, I recognized the outside, so it was about maybe a little after 5. And I decided, you know what? So I went inside the house and I rummaged through. Now this time I have dirty clothes piled up almost to the ceiling.
Right.
So I went through the pile of dirty clothes and looked for the cleanest out of the dirtiest.
Right.
We had a tub of water, moss in the water, and I splashed some on my skin. I take a piece of the dirty clothes and I pat dry my skin and put on some of the cleanest dirty clothes, and I started walking. And I walked from Arima to New Life Ministries. And as I was walking up the hill, they have a bus that doing transport, and apparently the driver just watching me walking. And by the time I reached up to New Life Ministries, I was sweating, I was smelling, I was looking terrible. And Errol Fabian was a counselor up there at that time. And when they took me in the gate, and he said, you walk? I said, yes.
Now you walk from Arima to St. Augustine?
Yes, straight up to Mount St. Benedict.
Wow.
Right? And when I explained to them and they recognized what they said, Errol said he showed that are ready for recovery.
Yes.
Right? And they introduced me, and they interviewed me, and all of that, and then they told me to come back in 2 weeks' time.
Oh Lord. Errol
gave me $5 and he said, don't walk back, make sure you take transport and go home. But $5 is money to start again.
Yes.
So I start the journey again, and I start walking back home and hitchhike, get a drop here, start to stop here to smoke and for the 2 weeks I continued smoking. But that picture of my daughter never left my memory. The day came when I had to go into New Life Ministries, which was the 26th of September, 1991. And I decided that my sister-in-law, however she found out, I don't know. And she came and she said, Jenny, I come to go with you. They used to call me Jenny. I said, but I don't want to go because who I leave this time, I had my son, my eldest son, and my last 3-year-old daughter, because my middle son, his grandmother took him because of what was happening.
Yes.
And I left I told her I don't want to go because I have nobody to take care of the two children. And hear what she told me. She said, but who's taking care of them now? You know, so you better come and go. God will take care of them.
Right.
And she helped me, and I went up to New Life Ministries and left them behind.
And from that day on?
And from that day on, it's been 33 years. Right. And I have found my way. I've found myself. You know, I live a better life. I live among the winners of today. I have 3 degrees that I like to say. A bachelor's in struggle, a master's in success, and a PhD in experience.
Yes.
You know, and I feel great about me today. For somebody who didn't know who I was, couldn't find myself, was lost, lonely, and frustrated, today I am beautiful. And like I said, I live among the winners of today. You know.
Well said, Beverly.
Awesome.
Well said, well said. You know, for those who listening, and I want to say hello to the people who I spoke to on Monday, in South.
Yes, the folks at Ken Scott Limited.
Ken Scott Limited
invited us to present for their workers about addiction and how to avoid the pitfalls and the hazards that exist, not just for the men themselves, but for their families.
Yes, I want to say good morning, and I thank you for, you know, but, you know, I was letting people know about when you tell somebody, well, look what you're doing to yourself, you look what you're doing, just stop now. It's not that easy. People feel it that easy, and we just worthless and want to be out there using drugs. Could you explain again from your eyes?
Yeah, people who don't know, that's what they think, that you're worthless, you're no good, you know, you just don't want to stop. And, you know, in the journey of addiction, it's a hellhole. It's a place where you want to climb out of, but don't know how. You don't have the power to climb out. You know, you're latching on to straws that, you know straws today have a paper on it.
Yes.
So when you hold on to the straw, you're pulling the paper rather than the straw. You know, and for me, something had to give for me to turn it around. Because that taste and that search that I was searching for, that feeling from the first introduction to, I kept wanting that euphoria. I wanted that feeling. And I was stopping at nothing to get it. But I also wanted to, I used to pray. I used to always ask God to take me out of this. Right? And I would say God had his plan for me. And he knew what he was putting me through to prepare me for where I am today. You know, and getting out was not an easy thing, because when I should have stopped, people would say, well, you went to New Life Ministries, they give you money to go back. Why you went back?
Right.
You understand? But the desire was still there. Right? The feeling of using was still there. Right? Yes. And if they had kept me that day, I would not have gone back. But they didn't. They sent me back and told me come back in 2 weeks. I had nothing, family abandonment, I had no friends, the only friends was drug users. So what was the purpose of stopping then? Yeah. Right. You know, I still had to continue. Right? But it is not easy to say, you know, you could just jump out and stop. I believe rock bottom, and my rock bottom was my 3-year-old daughter. And I think everybody who uses have to reach that place we call rock bottom. And rock bottom is different for each person. Yeah. Somebody's daughter might win a scholarship and they recognize, hey, I want to be there for my daughter, and that could be rock bottom for them. Right. Somebody might have a death in their family, and somebody might just sit down one day and just recognize, oh God, look at my life. And that was Gavin School, deceased Gavin School, rock bottom. He sat down one day in a state of disarray in a old abandoned house, right? And he saw this old piece of newspaper with Rebirth House on it, and he was desperate. He didn't have anything anymore. He wanted to start. He decided, well, look, it's
Let me
time for me
try
to
that.
do this. Let me try something, and that was his rock bottom.
Okay.
So everybody's rock bottom is different, but it is that point and that place when you, the individual, recognize that you need change.
Yeah.
That it's time to move your life from this life.
Yeah, my rock bottom was going to prison.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's rock bottom.
The nuclear
It's-
blast, as we call it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's different from everybody. But families think if I tell you to stop, or people think if I tell you to stop, you should stop.
You should stop.
Yeah.
But you might get a break hand and a break foot and end up in prison or end up in the hospital. And they figure, well, right, it's time for you to stop. But that person didn't make that decision. The family making the decision, it's time for them to stop.
Yes.
But as long as that person didn't recognize, I've had a lady come in by me, and that lady came in with 105 stitches. They gang rape her with a bottle, and they 105 stitches. And after 5 days, that lady come crawling down the step. I thought that was her rock bottom. And she said she going home because she'll go and join a church, and her mother goes to church and she'll go to church with her. You know, that lady died on the street.
Oh my God.
So that wasn't rock bottom for her. So rock bottom is different for everybody. It is that point when you, the individual, come to the realization that I need to stop, change my life, I need help.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are getting a master class here in addiction. And for those of you who are listening who have been asking me the questions or asking Natasha, there's your answer. And I keep saying over and over, it is up to the individual
Yep.
to experience that nuclear blast. It's unfortunate. Speak to the mothers now who actually have to sit and watch their child destroy themselves and cannot do anything.
Gosh, that is sad. It is sad. But you have to love them anyway, right? You have to support them. You have to be there for them. You have to keep talking to them, but you cannot do it for them. You have to allow them to make the decision. You can't make the decision for them. I've seen so many women come through Serenity Place who families have made the decisions for them, and they all fall by the wayside. The court make a decision. Some come in for their job, some come in because they want to rest, they're tired. The best place to hide is the rehab. Some come in because they want to keep their job. Some come in because mommy say, go and get help. Otherwise, when I go away, I ain't bringing nothing for you. You understand? All the wrong reasons. But the only ones who survive and who stay clean is the ones who made that decision for themselves and recognize that their life need to change and they need help. You cannot help somebody if they don't want
the help. Correct. And I
you
think
could support them, you could, tell them, but they have to make the decision.
absolutely. And I think from a sociological or medical or scientific perspective as well, and people need to understand that addiction is a disease of the brain.
Of course.
Once you consume drugs in excess or you're a chronic drug user, there will be changes to your brain, how your brain functions, how you make decisions, how you communicate, how you rationalize things. So making good decisions as a drug user it's not gonna happen, really.
And this goes for alcohol, gambling, and all of these too, right?
All
Absolutely.
the drugs or addiction across the floor.
Absolutely.
Addiction, right? Because you have all types of addiction. People addicted to coffee, people addicted to gambling, people addicted to money,
Sex,
people addicted
shopping,
to shopping, cell phone,
Yes.
all of that. But drug addiction may be the worst addiction because what it does, it deteriorates lifestyle, it makes families dysfunctional, and all of that. But addiction across the floor is mind altering. When you use substances, you
yes.
alter your mind so you can't think straight.
Correct.
Yeah. And you have to love yourself too at some point,
Exactly.
And now you give me an idea, because when I was speaking with our friend Sheldon, I think making it too easy too for him by going and pick him up, and I want to tell him walk from St. James to Belmont. if you're real serious, you know, because when do parents apply tough love? Let's because now we have homes where the even the marijuana that's being sold now have people cursing their mothers. And I am hearing of young men, like I was speaking with a mother and I hearing the young man cursing her in the background. Mother. Wow. And thank God that is one thing I never did. But how do our parents now deal with that part of it?
Yeah,
when to apply the tough love?
You have to apply the tough love. If you keep talking and trying and you recognize your son or your daughter refuses to listen or refuses to pay attention to what you're saying to him or her, you have to love them, yes, but don't enable them. Right? There is a time when you sit with them and you talk with them and you say, listen, it's either you go and get help or I cannot help you. You have to go and get help. It's either you go and get help or you move out of my house.
Right.
Right? And yes, you have some parents that they put them out, but yet still they giving them food, they giving them $10, they giving them this. Tough love is not that. Tough love is when you leave them to stand on their own and to come to their own realization that they need help. Yeah. Right? And you're letting them know when you're putting them out. When you are ready for help, I am here for you. But if you keep enabling them and giving them this, they come for food, you give them food, they come for clothes, you give them clothes, they come for this, you give them it. You know, once an addict who using has easy access, right, availability to all the basic necessities of life, they have no need and no desire to stop.
Continue to use.
Yeah, exactly, because I could go by mommy and get this, I could go here and get $5, I could go by Paul and he'll give me a little PJ, I could. Yes. What's the need to stop? You understand? So you have to show them that tough love. You have to. It's painful for families. It is a painful experience, journey, or what you want to call it. But you have to stay. It's hard to sit down and watch your loved one deteriorate and put himself be a vagrant on the street. But you have to know that you're there in heart. You're there for him when he's ready. Right? And you let him come to you. Don't take him and drop him by the rehab center because you carrying him. So what he's going to say when he gets fed up in the center is that my mother bring me here. You understand? I didn't want to come. Right. I have people who come to the center. They come because they were brought. They didn't come because they wanted recovery.
And these are women you're talking about?
And these are women. Yeah. And right now I have a lady who leaving the program today. She came by Serenity Place 4 times and never come for herself. The family brought her. And she's decided she's going again. You understand? Because she can't understand the disease of addiction. She not recognizing that she has a problem. And the thing is, when you come from a family of users, it's more difficult, right, to recognize your problem because everybody's smoking, everybody drinking, so why you singling out me? You understand? And that is a harder journey for that person.
Absolutely. So was there anything that you learned coming back to your story now? Anything you learned from your first relapse that made recovery stick the second time around?
Well, I have a thing, Natasha, that I say you could only relapse when you're in recovery.
Right.
And I was not in recovery because I didn't go in to Cora wanting to stop. Right? I was abstaining, right? I was just playing the monkey because I always had a plan to use. You understand? And so it was easy, that celebration, it was easy for that guy to convince me to use again because it was always in the back of my mind to use. You understand?
Because we still want that first feel and we can't
because
get it.
I still feel I could find it. I thought I could find it.
Yes.
You understand? I still feel, nah man, I think maybe if I go so unused or if I do it this way, I could find it. We in search of a ghost.
So when you're actually in recovery, then what you're saying is that being in recovery would give you the tools to evade the possibility of relapse, even though we know it's possible, but it gives you the tools to manage your life going forward.
Because in recovery, right? When you make that decision and you're in recovery, you decide not to turn back, not to go back.
And nothing
right?
will make you do that.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Not even Jesus Christ could come and make me want to go back. I don't want to go back. Because the pain that I suffer using, right, is greater than any pain that I could go through in recovery. You understand? So I know that I didn't want to go back, you know, and it's that place you have to reach with yourself to recognize that turning point, you know, that, hey, you know, this is it. There's no way, nothing could make me, no stress, no money problems, no frustration, no fear, no anger, to pick up that drug again. And that goes because I knew where I was, what I went through. I don't want to feel that way again. I don't want people to pass and scorn me and look at me, you know. I don't want to be the talking point, the negative talking point of my community, of my family, you know. So and that's where people have to reach, and people not recognizing that. People think, okay, I could, you know, recovery has a lifestyle. Active addiction has a lifestyle.
Yes.
You cannot be in recovery and still live in an active addiction lifestyle.
Correct.
It doesn't work that way.
Yes, yes. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are getting school this morning from Beverly Morson. And I welcome this too as well, because it works for me in my recovery as well, Beverly. But we live in a society where the people now who could help us reintegrate don't understand this part.
That's true.
And Natasha is my witness. For the last 9 years, I begged and begged and begged. I need to be employed. My wife is the only one who bringing in the income. And the NGO, Corporation and Tobago, don't support NGOs here as they should. So, but I want to work. I have a skill. And cry as I may, the more I cried, is the more phones were shut off and ears were blocked. And I'm saying, but like, they want to see me go back on the street again.
That speaks
You know,
to stigma and
you want Natasha to come here on a Sunday morning and say, well, folks, unfortunately, God couldn't take the pressure. And you know, because he's not feeling like a man, he's not bringing anything in the house, so he gone back on the street. You could see him in St. James walking up and down begging for money.
And that's what where they're going to say, I know that.
That's right.
I know that would have
happened.
That's
I
right.
know that would have happened.
Yeah. So as we in chances to say, are doing it right for spite. And are doing it because, just like you, when I was released from prison, the 11th of June 1991, I never looked back. I said, prison was my nuclear blast.
Right.
And I didn't want to be like them, who I see just going and coming, going and coming all the time.
Recurring door,
Yes.
over and over.
And by that time, my family was totally embarrassed. I was the first and only one in the family to get arrested and end up in prison. My mother, poor thing, you know, she couldn't take, she came to look for me in prison, and I couldn't believe that I have my mother, and them time in prison, didn't have any phones,
No.
So you had to stand
and shout.
Listen to me. You didn't have phones to talk to the person on the other side. It was a corridor where officers used to walk up and down, and my mother is about 2 feet away from me, and some mothers and families down the line. So everybody talking to everybody at the same time. Yeah, and
I experienced that with my son.
I see what my mother, look at what my mother find herself, you know,
Just
in
imagine.
a prison visit room.
She
And
could hardly hear you because she hearing everybody else.
yes! Mommy, how you going? Who got it? And that's the volume you had to speak in. And she know how to try and poor thing with
And
us.
somebody answering what the question you asking, somebody else answering.
Lord Jesus, the person who came up with these things, God bless me, and God will deal with you all, you know, trust me. So Beverly, you decided you're going to, at what point did you decide you need to have an institution now to help other women?
Well, the thing is, when I was in recovery, during active addiction, despite all the labels and stigmas, all the things that people, you know, discriminate and discard me, they had people who would say, Beverly, you know, you need to change your life. You need a good person. Why you going? There was even a pusherman who stopped selling me drugs because he said, you're better than that. You have children, you know. I used to have to send other people to buy drugs from him, you know, because I couldn't go, he wouldn't sell me, you know. So there were lots of people who reach out to help me, to reach out to say, Beverly, you know, turn your life around, do something better with your life, you know. And so this was my way in when the opportunity for Serenity Place came. Before that, I was living in Port of Spain and Abercrombie Street in this kind of, you know, I had several rooms I was living in with my children and Gavin Cole at the time.
Right.
And Gavin said to me, Beverly, you know, there's this girl who need help. Do you think you could work with her? You know, and I agreed. And I took her in and shared one room with her, right? And started working with her, talking with her. And then Tambi at the time said, you know, he had the women's program, and he asked me to come down and work with them. And I said, okay, you know, and I thought, you know, this was a way for me to give back. This was a way to help women who been through, and because I knew what I went through, and this is what women going through, I need to do something. So when that opportunity come, I took that one woman, and then I took another one, and then when the opportunity for Serenity Place, when this Sister Paul called upon us and said, you know, a lot of women reaching out to her, you know, and there's no place for women because by this time Tambi closed down his institution for women, his women, because he said, women, he can't handle it. Right?
Yes.
And then at the time, New Life Ministries was taken two, and then they stopped. They would close for periods of time and all of that. So there was nowhere at the time. Cora was only taking 2 women at the time to put women. And Sister Paul said she was bombarded with women coming. So she called in Mr. Cole and myself and asked us, because she got this place, this building that her family gave to her, and told her she could do what she wanted with it. And she saw the need for a place for women who was using substances. And she said, you know, she called us in and asked us if we would take up the challenge to open an institution and manage it. And after much conversation, talk, we said yes, we would. You know, and we took up the challenge. March 18, 1996, Serenity Place was opened.
Wow.
So speaking of challenges, Natasha?
Yes, well, I mean, I wanted to talk about that first woman that you helped, or the first client at Serenity Place. What do you remember most about those women?
Well, it was 9 women. 9 women, because Tambi had closed down.
Right.
Yes. And when Serenity Place was open, we didn't have electricity. We hardly had food. So at 6 o'clock, the women were running for their flambeaux and to make their flambeau and get the bacano leaf to make tea and all of that. We had some wood for louvers, and every time you tried to close it, it falling out. Some bunk beds, all the things that I had from my mother, breads and wares and stuff like that, is that we were using and stuff like that. And let me tell you something, those 9 women, out of them, 7 stayed clean. 2 or 3 of them have passed away. But one in particular, what we used to do as a fundraiser is I used to learn how to make wings and fry and sell. And that lady, which is Mr. Tambi, deceased Tambi, niece Joanne Maximum, she took from Serenity Place, learned to sell wings and fries, and she went to live Tobago. And when in communicating with her, she said, Beverly, that wings and fries, that's what I build my house with, you know.
Wow.
You know, and I was so amazed that, you know, she took that and she went and she, you know, she did something with it, you know. And many others who, from that group of women who we didn't have, here now one day we were sitting down in a meeting, we had wooden benches, we didn't have chairs, 2 long wooden benches. And we sat down in a meeting and a snake dropped in the middle of the meeting. Right? Everybody scamper because we didn't have electricity. You understand? And so we were under candlelight and flambeau, you know. And these women, let me tell you something, these women were so motivated. Right now, they would be cursing one another and fighting, and not physical fight, but verbal fight,
Yes.
and they carrying on. And when was time for the meeting, the same women who were just in that conflict would come together, and all of them would come together and come to meeting. They helping one another. Like, hurry up, meeting time.
yes.
And we would sit down and have discussions and sharing and stuff like that. And I admired that first group of women Serenity Place had, and today the center have more amenities. They have electricity, they have access to TV and cable and all these things. But that first group of women, I mean, I hold them in high esteem.
But they really wanted
Yes,
to change.
They wanted change.
And set the
They
foundation
weren't
for-
easy. They weren't easy. It had one who run away in 2 o'clock in the morning, go down the road, buy drugs and bring it in and all of that. Right? She was on this program some years ago.
Okay.
Right? But
Was Mary?
no, Maria.
Maria,
yes,
right?
yes.
But they stuck together. They held each other. They supported each other. And I am happy and proud that they are doing well today.
How many times do you have to tell somebody, don't go, you're not ready?
Oh boy.
People, how many times do you have to do that?
Right through, all the time. All the time I keep saying, recovery is about readiness.
Right.
In a program, it's not about time. It's not how long you stay. It's how ready you are.
Right.
And that readiness depends on your performance, your participation in the program.
So if somebody get me vexed and say, you see me, I can't take this now, I go on, or they're just stressing me out here more than anything else, that people use that as a
Yes,
reason.
of course. And
Yeah.
I would tell them, I say, I mean, you're an adult. We don't hold anybody against their will.
Right.
But I would say you're not ready. And I will show them their behavior, bring it in front of them, and show them how they're not ready. But at the end of the day, if you still want to go, you are free to leave, because it's not a prison. We're not tying you down, right? And they come back. Years after, months after, they come back.
Right.
They some of them leave and they go, oh, this is the program and Beverly this and Beverly that. I've had one, she real cursed me out and she called me all kind of names and she get on and she take off, and 2 years later she by the gate asking for help. I don't know if you will take me, because of how I get on the last time. But the door was open for her. She's doing very well today.
Right.
I don't turn anybody away.
So the recovery,
I'm fascinated by this because I feel like a community of women, especially in this setting, is a really powerful thing. Women helping each other is a really
Woman
powerful.
helping woman to help herself.
Yes, it's a really powerful thing, and I wondered what if your own recovery experience helped you to push through the challenges of establishing a treatment program and really helping others the way that you know you can.
Yes, because Serenity Place is helping me as much as I'm helping women, because it's helping me to stay clean.
Right.
I can't think about going and use after running a center, right? And me being in it strengthens my recovery, right? Because having to manage and help and assist other women who's struggling, who come to me, and sometimes 1 o'clock, I've had 2 o'clock in the morning, a woman come knocking the door because I live in the compound. Miss Beverly, I'm feeling depressed, and I would jump out of my bed and go and sit with her and talk to her. You understand? And help her to understand that, she wants, she feeling to run, and, I would talk with them and help them, to go forward, to recognize that it's urges they're going through or withdrawals they're going through, So me having to do that helps me to stay clean, helps me to recognize that if I don't stay clean, then this woman and that woman will fall apart.
Have you found it more?
Go ahead, sorry.
Have you found it more challenging treating women based on the stigma that's associated with women's drug use?
It is challenging, but it's not hard, because of my walk because of my journey. It makes it easier for me to understand and to be, to help them walk, to help them go through recovery, because I understand where they come from, right? Their story is my story, right? There are so many similarities, so that the challenge really is more the resources.
Yes.
Right? That's where the challenge is, the resources.
Right.
Right? But not the journey of and the reaching out to help the individual. But having the resources. And I say, one client was explaining not so long ago, right, to another lady who felt that the center should have this and she should have that and she should have the other. And one woman was saying, she lived in the States for some time, and she said in the States they have a treatment center could afford to have all the amenities, and they would provide everything. They would provide all the different types of counseling, the medical, the this, the that, the job, the healthcare. They would provide all of that because it would cost more for the persons to keep coming back.
Right.
So they will do everything in their power to make sure that they go through recovery with all the resources and everything that is necessary. We don't have that here. Our resources are limited.
Yes.
This is a field that is downplayed.
Yes.
This is an area that government, society doesn't really want to, does look down upon rather than look up upon.
Right.
And so you find that's why we have the recurring revolving
just like
door,
prison,
right?
like prison.
And that is why that in the States and places outside, they want to avoid that because it costs more for the revolving door.
Absolutely.
So, and there are many times you are faced with, should I buy a tire or buy food?
Yes.
and of course.
Should I fix a leaking roof?
Yes. My priority is the women. My responsibility is them. So if I go down the road and I have $100 in my pocket, it's my $100 my daughter would have given me, but I would remember, Tasha don't have a belt, or this one need a underwear, or that, and that's where it would go. Right? Because that is priority for me. I want to see, I try to make them as comfortable as possible in the small space and lack of resources that we have in order for them to recognize that I'm not on the street again, but this is different. I could do this, right? There's support, there's help, there's care, there's responsible love and concern.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are listening to Beverly Morson here this morning. And, so those of you out there, I think you should have a better understanding on recovery for women. But before we take that break, Beverly, recovery being different for women, are there social or family pressures that weigh heavier on women?
Yes.
And the stigma, how
labels and the stigmas that are put on women. And one of that is mainly caused by we as women. During our drug use, we our asset is our bodies. We sell sex for drugs, right? And then you're selling sex to different people, from all the vagrant to the higher person in society, just for that fix, right? And so when you do that, you embarrass your family, you embarrass yourself, you embarrass society, because people look at you as a no good, a prostitute, So it's harder, right, for you to come to stay in recovery without people every street you walk, everybody look she there, she used to do this, she used to do. I remember a day I was walking down Frederick Street, a Friday evening mountain, and I was just in recovery, just about 5 months in recovery, and this guy called me and he said, come now. And I said, okay, I don't have time now. And I continue walking. And Garth, that young man, decided to describe me from the top of my head to the shoes on my feet, and said all the things, started to say all the things that I used to do, how much blowjobs, how much sex, how much this, how much rape, that I went through with him and others, just because I didn't give him the attention he wanted. Gas, if the whole floor could have opened and I sinking, I wanted to sink in.
Wow.
I took off in a speed and he walking to come in.
Behind you.
Yes. And I bend the corner and tears start to stream down my face. And I couldn't wait to reach home. And when I reach home, I bury myself in my pillow and cried and said, this is how it is. It's better I go back and use. This is what I have to go through. But it also gave me strength to say no. Going back would be worse.
Yeah.
Going back would be worse. And so, yes, today, society labels women, they discriminate against them, you know. And I should not say society as a whole, but some members of society.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Because we can't lump all in one.
Right.
You know, and it is difficult for women. Families, it's hard because you have family meetings, families wouldn't come. Oh, she ain't able with she ain't ready yet. You ask them for the person to come out for a weekend, come out for a day pass. No. You sure she ready? Keep she there for a longer time. No, I can't handle that. I'm not ready to handle that. You know? So when you as a woman come in, especially if you're still in pre-contemplation stage, you know, you ain't ready, you're sure, you're now thinking, you know, and your family is saying no, you know, they don't want you to come for a weekend, they don't want you to come for a day, they ain't able with that. What's your mindset? Why am I doing this anyway? They tell me go and get help, and they ain't even coming to visit, they ain't even calling to find out how I'm doing, nothing at all. So those are serious struggles for women, not to mention women who have children, right? And they want to find out what's happening with their children, and some members of the family would have taken the children from them and don't want them to see them because their mother is a drug addict. I don't want you to have nothing to do with the child, you know. So you have all these issues that women face, right? And it's a struggle for them in recovery, right? And because some of them don't know how to handle it. They don't have the necessary support, and hence the reason why Serenity Place is being used as from a holistic. We try to help from a holistic approach, right? The women come in, some of them don't have anywhere to go back to. Once they're doing well, we help them to get a job. We would send them out in the, you know, to get probably in the grocery, probably a domestic or something. They live in and they work out until they are able to live out and work out, you know. Because we have to be there.
And pretty soon, our sister Isle, Tobago, may need an empowerment center for women.
Sure.
Because I understand the female crack addict population in Tobago is growing by leaps and bounds.
Wow.
You know, and but what we could do, we just highlighted it for them, and Tobago, Tobago on their own. Because you see, we've been trying for at least a decade for Tobago, and for some reason, it doesn't bother the administration there.
They close on track.
And they close on track.
Yes.
So what could I do? I tried to reach out to Mr. Augustine. I've tried as with every chief secretary, and they're not listening. So let's see how large the population in Tobago is going to grow before they decide to do something about it. But good morning to Patsy, Gloria, and Rosemary from Brooklyn, Rosemary from Canada, Catherine. Good morning to all of you on YouTube. Thank you very much for the love as usual on Facebook and on I-95.5 FM. Jackie Burgess says good morning. She sends her love.
Good morning.
And so, Natasha, we can go to a break.
Yes.
Let's go to a break. And when we return, we will just touch on this quickly. Natasha will tell you what we're going to show you here, the folks that we met at Collins Bay. And then we'll have that segment from Free the Slaves. And then we take your calls and we wrap up with Beverly, right?
Yep.
Yeah? All right. So let's go to a quick break. And when we return, we take you through some images of the prison we visited in Collins Bay, Kingston, Ontario, and some of the folks that we met and chat with. And I'm hoping that, Beverly, we saw at Collins Bay, I will never stop talking about this, something they call a menu. I don't think we'll ever reach that in Trinidad and Tobago, maybe the next 20 years or 30 years with really industrious thinking people.
A drug paraphernalia menu.
A drug paraphernalia menu.
Wow.
And what they do is they have a harm reduction, a step-down program, because they also have methadone using. But any day, an addict in the prison can go to the medical part of the prison and say, what's your drug of choice? Crack cocaine. Okay, so they give you that and they send you in a room. I have never seen anything like that before in my life. And Natasha and I have been to 8 prisons in the UK. We saw menu for food, but never for drugs. These folks, they are ensuring that when you leave prison in Canada, you don't want a reason to come back. They're going to make sure and take care of you in there. And we're going to show you when we return. Folks, stay right there. You're listening to Dependency. We'll be back.
Hello. Hi, this is Patricia Kent from HMP London. Can I speak to Miss Sheila, please?
This is Miss Sheila.
Hi, I've got an important call for you. Please hold the line.
Mommy, it's Sherry.
Oh God, Sherry, we looking for you all the time. 3 weeks now. Where you going?
Mommy, I called in to tell you I get locked up. I had drugs in my luggage and I'm in England right now. In jail.
Oh God, Sherry, what? What you do? How you reach there? Oh God, how we gonna do?
Oh God, Mommy, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. It'll be alright. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Eye on Dependency. Reality radio at its best every Sunday on I 95.5 FM. Don't miss.
Ah boy. Feel like going and buy myself a senorita tonight.
Nah. You know you might be promoting slavery.
Slavery? What you talking about?
Hey, modern day slavery or human trafficking is just what some of these people just do. You know some of these women were tricked to come here? Some are held against their will, abused, and even beaten. Most times the girls don't even see any of the money that is paid for them. And every night, they just have to come out looking nice and sexy for somebody like you. Human trafficking is a serious problem and a serious crime. Persons who solicit commercial sex services may be contributing to human trafficking. A message from the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National.
Hello, my name is Raquel, a trainee inmate at HMP Drake Hall, Staffordshire, England, and you're listening to Iron Dependency with Garth and Natasha. Please, people, don't traffic drugs. The money is all that nice. It's not worth it.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Eye on Dependency. Happy Independence Day to you again. And we are having a conversation with Beverly Morson of Serenity Place Empowerment Centre for Women on this Independence Day. She's talking, of course, about her own recovery and how that is linked to independence. What does independence mean for someone who is in recovery? That is a question that I'm sure we will answer before the morning is out. But we wanted to start this segment with to show you a little bit of what Collins Bay in Ontario looks like. We visited Collins Bay thanks to Michael Schreiner, who is the Regional Communications Director for the Correctional Service of Canada. He picked us up at the train station. He led the tour We were fortunate enough to meet the warden of Collinsby just quite by accident. And we were given a tour by 2 correctional officers as well. And we met a Trini. You know, they're everywhere, right? So we met a
She's
Trini.
the assistant warden.
She's the assistant
so
warden.
There's the
at
first picture
Millhaven.
of there, Beverly. You know, and I just want you to pay attention to how clean that place is doing. It's amazing. Wow. You know, I'm sorry we couldn't get it up on the top there, but this is.
So start with image A, Shortman, and grab it up right. So this was after we completed the first part of the tour, and we were just standing in this area chatting with Michael and the 2 officers. The warden passed by. And she was like, I heard we had some visitors, so I came down to see what was happening.
You talk about respect, Beverly.
The warden is Christine Anderson, who is the lady between the officer and Michael.
The way these people treated us with respect, I can't get over that, you know. And those things that they would just let any and anybody into their prison. Right. Of course, when we contact them, and of course the Canadian High Commission here, to Mr. Stewart, we had the first sort of meeting with them, but they would do their own research.
Yes.
And
yes, of course.
Of course, they would do their own research on us. They
wouldn't
just
know who coming into
And we were welcomed with open arms and treated with the utmost respect. And I really thank them for that.
That's wonderful.
And just to identify the persons in the picture for you. So starting from the left, of course, that's Garth. Next to him is correctional manager Ty Haynes. And remember, these are not just officers; they're managers. So they're senior in the facility. Next to him is Christine Anderson, who is the warden at Collins Bay. Next to her is Michael Schreider, who is, as I said, the regional communications manager. Go back stay on that picture, please, Shortman. Go back to that group picture. Next to Michael is me, of course, and next to me is Selena Lane. She's the assistant warden management services for another institution nearby, which is called Millhaven. She's from Trinidad and Tobago. She was born here, migrated to Canada as a teenager, and was recruited to work at CSC after she finished university. So she has over 20 years of experience working in corrections. And of course, next to her is Mike Oddy, who is another correctional manager at Collinsby.
Yes, and they're the ones who give us the tour, and this is the look of the prison, Beverly. This is the front of the prison.
Wow.
And we didn't, while we were there, we didn't see anything being cleaned, but the place was spotless. Yes, and this is what the prison looks like from the outside. You would never guess.
No, you'd never think that's a prison. Look at that. That looks like a church.
Well, actually, the name for it is Disney. They have a nickname for it, Disney World or something like that, because it looks like a castle.
Yeah. Well, of
to
course.
The front. But it's majestic and it's huge.
And it's
huge. Lord, it's huge. Let's go to the next slide.
They house both women and men.
Just men.
Just men. At this one, yes.
And then we will give them a tour of this workshop. There's an offender at Collins Bay.
They have a whole other section where they have a welding, a shop,
skills training.
Yes, metal work and fabrication. That. And they have a program where offenders would receive the skill training and then be placed in jobs when they're ready.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And despite all of the potentially dangerous equipment you see here, it's all very well managed, of course, by civilians. These are not officers who are
by civilians.
By civilians.
Wow. Yes. Wow. And so this is the visit room.
This is an example of what the visit room at Collins Bay looks like.
A prison.
Wait till you see the cell. This is a visitation room. So this would be for the maximum. Collins Bay is a maximum and medium security prison. So they have both kinds of settings for the
and medium too, because there's the section where you go to work and you come back to prison in the afternoon.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's but you have to earn that. So you start maximum, minimum, and then medium, and that is when you get up like you live.
And
home,
then you go out into the community, of course, and then back to your home.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's
preparing
a
you
process.
You know, they're actually preparing you to go out there. So which means if where you came from you were using a latrine, when you leave there, you don't even want to go back to that. You want to change your life completely. And
that's total rehabilitation.
Total rehabilitation.
Correct.
That is why they have correctional officers and not prison officers. You know.
So this is a living unit. This is a medium security unit. So the cells in there would be outfitted accordingly. As you see in the distance there, there's a fridge. So there's a communal space with a kitchen space. And of course, all of the sharp items are tethered to the wall, right? Because so they have those security measures in place, but they are at least, you know, spacious communal living spaces here. And as you see, clean. Right, and we didn't see anybody cleaning while we were there, so clearly they do that on a regular basis.
I did not see a slop pail yet.
Nope. Nope.
As a matter of fact, they took us to one of the mates' room where he has a TV, computer, and ceramic. I mean, you name it, is a home away from home, literally. And like I said, they ensuring that you have no reason to come back here when you leave. We're giving you everything, you know, that you need. And the TV, of course, is sanctioned by them. They're not a smart TV or anything that they could come play games with, but it's basic and educational channels and all of that.
That's one shot, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, and of course, in that cell, well, this is just, this is an officer who's doing his count in the prisoner count at the end of the day. But when you see the cell, you'll realize, when we went into that cell, and of course the prisoner gave us permission to go in there and look, there's a list of all of the items in that cell. So if they go to do searches and anything is missing,
the prisoner held accountable.
Right? So there's a measure of trust, of course, on the part of the CSC for the prisoner in allowing him to have a television and a radio and all of that. But the officers themselves also have to be accountable for.
And they're teaching you to be responsible too. At the same time, you know.
That is what rehabilitation should be. That is how it should be. Rehabilitation facilities should be like that.
Yes.
And this
everywhere.
This is what inside the cell looks like.
Wow. It looks like. So I mean, very bare, and I'm bare looking, but again, the basics. And like we say, the one that we saw was fully outfitted.
Bare looking is like that's a paradise to Trinidad.
Yeah, because there's a ceramic toilet bowl right next there. There's no slop pail in this institution here.
And a window, which is a security risk because they have issues with drones sending stuff for people, right? Contraband. But there's a window that you know, people could get sunlight and fresh air if they want.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's a sneak peek of Collins Bay, folks. We have more to show you, but on a subsequent program, like I said, after we package this and hand it over to the ministry, and they are comfortable with what they see, then we show you the rest, right? So, Natasha?
Yes. So now we want to go straight to you want to go to a break and come back?
No, let's go straight to it.
Let's go straight to Freedom
Interrupted. And it's similar to, you know, people enslaving others with substances. But listen to Mr. Adrian Alexander. You could introduce it, Natasha. Beverly, I think you may be familiar with this voice.
Yes, this is a partnership that we have thankfully developed with Free the Slaves, an NGO that is working towards eliminating the crime of trafficking in persons worldwide and in the Caribbean especially. So this is basically an introduction to Free the Slaves and the work that they do, presented by Adrian Alexander, who voiced this very well. And he has a great voice, so you know, we didn't have to do too much editing. So we just put some images to his voice, and this series will be broadcast every month on Iron Dependency until December this year. So this is the first in the series.
And of course, the Counter Trafficking Unit, Ministry of Homeland Security, is very familiar with Mr. Alexander too as well. So let's hear what he had to say.
Good morning, Garth, Natasha, and all of you listeners. Welcome to Freedom Interrupted, a monthly segment hosted by Free the Slaves. I'm Adrian Alexander, Caribbean Regional Coordinator for Free the Slaves. And this episode, I'd like to share with you some information about our organization globally, as well as the work that we do in the Caribbean. So Free the Slaves is a global leader in the movement to dismantle systems of exploitation and build a world where everyone can live in freedom and dignity. We alerted the world that slavery still exists, going back to the year 2000, and we've crafted a global blueprint to eradicate slavery worldwide. We've designed a model for vulnerable communities to resist traffickers and overcome slavery. Free the Slaves was formed in the year 2000 following the publication of the book Disposable People, New Slavery in the Global Economy by Professor Kevin Bales of the UK. This book inspired activists from both the US and the UK to form Free the Slaves in the year 2000. The organization's goals at that time were to research global slavery, create worldwide awareness, catalyze governmental responses, and launch grassroots anti-slavery projects, especially in vulnerable communities where trafficking happened the worst. Over the years, Free the Slaves used a combination of that research and then bringing that research to the attention of the public in both the UK and the US through the means of books that were written as well as documentaries that would have been developed. One key book was titled Ending Slavery, and that was in 2007. It was really providing a roadmap for what governments, businesses, religions, students, and others can do to combat modern-day slavery. Former President Bill Clinton actually held up the book at its annual Clinton Global Initiative Conference, touting it as the blueprint for action to eradicate slavery throughout the world. At Free the Slaves, we believe that ending modern-day slavery means more than just liberating people, but it means transforming the conditions that allow exploitation to actually occur, take root, and persist. So to address that issue, we work in solidarity with local organizations, also survivor leaders, businesses, and governments across Africa, Asia, the Americas, Europe, Middle East, and also here in the Caribbean. The objective really is to create systemic, sustainable change. And together we help people chart their own path to freedom, how they access services, and especially how they reclaim their rights. So we also help strengthen legal protections, reform harmful practices, and build local and global coalitions for change. Our work is grounded in 4 strategic pillars. 1, community action, equipping frontline communities to prevent exploitation, protect human rights, and promote resilience to vulnerability to trafficking. Number 2, policy and advocacy. We drive systemic change by strengthening laws, demanding accountability, and influencing institutions at all levels. Third is learning and impact, where we generate evidence through research and elevate promising practices and share tools with policymakers and others that can help make anti-trafficking efforts more effective and survivor-centered. And the 4th strategic pillar is movement building. That's where we unite grassroots groups, survivor networks, and global actors to strengthen collective impact and shift power to those most affected. And it's really in this area of movement building that we have seen our work expand in the Caribbean. So in the Caribbean, we would have begun working in Haiti in about 2008, really addressing the system of child domestic servitude that is so ingrained in that nation. Collaborating with local stakeholders as well as international organizations, working with grassroots organizations, we're able to see several of the children being liberated from child domestic servitude, as well as being able to empower survivors and really see a tremendous shift take place within Haiti. And I know many of your listeners would be familiar with the news of Haiti now, but what's happening there doesn't really speak to what's happening all over the country. So yes, our partners continue to do work in Haiti amidst that situation of the gangs and the work that they're doing and the threat that they pose primarily in Port-au-Prince, but also the work that they are expanding. We still engage with our survivors there in Haiti, even as recently as the month of July, when we had a Caribbean anti-trafficking conference that was hosted by the Caribbean Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons. Partner organizations in Haiti and survivor leaders from Haiti also participated. But movement building for us really expanded in the year 2023, which was the year that the Freedom from Slavery Caribbean Regional Forum was held here in Trinidad and Tobago. And that continued in the year 2024, where we held a similar forum in Kingston, Jamaica. And really, these forums brought a lot of stakeholders together. We're talking about people from the government agencies, law enforcement, those from the judiciary, those who are survivors, as well as those from a wide range of civil society organizations, and also those in academia, really helping to pull all of the different learning and knowledge together. So in Trinidad and Tobago, that first forum was conducted over 3 days, and we saw that the first day was dedicated to prevention, the second day to prosecution, and the third day to protection issues. So those of your listeners who would be very familiar with the 3P format would know that those are some of the internationally recognized approaches to combating trafficking. The forum itself is an example of partnership, which of course is the fourth P. So coming out of that work here in Trinidad and Tobago in 2023 and continuing that work in 2024, we saw our engagement with UN agencies, even with CARICOM institutions, with academics in and out of the Caribbean, including those from the University of the West Indies in Mona, Jamaica, really expand. And there's a lot of content that would have been developed, a lot of the learning that even to this day in 2025 continues to impact people in government, in civil society, as they lead so much information from those forums. Building on the forum, however, there was a desire that the different stakeholders wanted to continue to work together in a much more regular framework rather than simply waiting for a conference or a forum to take place every year or every few years. And that actually led to a decision taken by the stakeholders at the Caribbean Regional Forum in Jamaica in 2024 to create something in the nature of a coalition. And that, of course, led to the formation and the launch of the Caribbean Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons on 31st July 2024. So that coalition embodies stakeholders from state agencies, UN institutions, multiple civil society organizations, as well as survivors from across the region. So we had engagement, and even on our leadership committee, there are people from Haiti, Jamaica, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And over the next year, from our launch in 2024 to this day, where we've recently celebrated our first anniversary, we're seeing even more engagement, more organizations joining and applying to join the coalition from countries such as Belize. So there's a lot of engagement that is taking place around the work that Free the Slaves is doing, making it a very inclusive work. We've also been so happy to see the development of a Caribbean Survivor Network and to collaborate with them. The founder of that network is on the leadership committee of the Caribbean Coalition, and we continue to see collaboration taking place. So just to give you an introduction of the work that we do, and I will join you again in our next episode that will take place in the month of September. So to get information about Free the Slaves, you can visit the website freetheslaves.net. And to get information about the Caribbean Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons, you can visit the website ccatip.org. You've been listening to Freedom Interrupted, a production of Free the Slaves with Adrian Alexander, Caribbean Regional Coordinator for Free the Slaves.
Thank you very much to Adrian Alexander and his team at Free the Slaves, Caribbean. We look forward to next month's edition. It was a nice introduction.
Human trafficking is a serious thing still, folks.
Yep.
You know, and Beverly can even speak to getting trapped in this. Women are actually trafficked in Trinidad and Tobago with regard to drug use, Beverly.
Of course, of course.
Absolutely. And even those who are enslaved, drugs are put into their system deliberately to keep them incapacitated and keep them bound.
Yes,
that's true.
Yeah?
That's true.
Because Beverly, you know that there are people who will be rescued by the counter trafficking unit, and because of going through that cold turkey, and that craving, some of them will try to run away to go back to the captor.
Of course, yes, because that drive, that wanting to not feel and feel that responsibility and having all these things at you, have to be responsible for this, responsible for that. You have to make a bed, you have to pay rent, you have to do this, you have to do that. No, it's easier to stay in my dilemma than to come out.
Yeah, and of course, to wanting that drug of choice, because to work in that field, well, it's not work to be enslaved in that field. Some women numb themselves with alcohol and other drugs, because they have to sleep with like 20 people a day.
And in order to function or to not feel, sometimes you don't want to feel. You understand? You don't want to, feel what is happening to your body, what's happening to your mind. So it's easier to zone out. To zone out, to be under the influence of the drug, so you wouldn't feel the pain of the rape, the pain of the abuse. You wouldn't feel that pain. I know about that experience. I've had it. I've been gang raped many times. Wow. So I know, that feeling. You just, it's like you're brain dead. You die, but you're alive.
Beverly, because you brought that up, I remember you told us a story where you were left at a pavilion. And could you take us, because this is what women go through out there, folks, and you have a daughter out there. I want to frighten you this morning. Trust me, Beverly, explain this to them for me.
In search of drugs, running behind the pipe, running behind the crack. There was this girl in the village she was the Dan in the village. And one night, 2 o'clock in the morning, I was so desperate and so thirsty. Rain pouring. I have on a little tube top and a short pants, bare feet standing up by the road, looking to see who I could stop to get some money to buy drugs, or even to get some drugs from.
Right.
And this girl pulled up in a car, and she said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Oh God, give me a smoke now, please, please, please." And she said, "Jump in." In the car was she and 2 other young men. And a driver by the pusherman, buy a set of drugs. Before they leave the area, they sit down in a corner and, we just taking one shot here. You wait in the car. And I'm waiting in the car because, I'm thirsty and I see how much drugs they have and all of that. And they keep driving. And while they're driving, they smoking and I begging. They smoking and I begging. They drive through this bushy place and, and it's like, I'm only seeing bush. And then they stop the car by this abandoned pavilion. And the girl, myself, and one of the young men come up. And we sit down on the pavilion and they smoking and I begging. They smoking and I begging. Oh gosh, well, it's time. Give me my shot now. And all I hear, just now, wait, hold on. The drugs finish. She send the young man back in the car to get more drugs. And he taking long to come back, and I thirsty for a smoke, not even a smoke again, my boy. And here, man, and she going down now, she say, "I come in now." She leave the stem, right? And the scraper for the stem and the lighter. She say, "I come in, let me go and see what they doing. They must be smoking out my rest of drugs in the car." And as she reach young, they jump in the car and they take off. So I left there now, cold, untidy, smelly, with a scraper. When I done with that, I have nothing. I don't even know where I am. So I started walking. And I'm walking and walking, and then I start to hear voices and see light. And I'm wondering, oh God, yeah, somebody will help me, because it's bush all around. So I say, right, I'll get out. And these men, they were hunters. And they said, they asked, "What you doing here? Look at your condition, what you do?" And when I explained my situation to them, they say, "Yes, okay, we will help you." And we walk a short distance before each of them take turns in raping me. 5 of them. And they left me there, and I was in a mess. I managed to drag myself up, bruised, cut, blood bleeding, and I managed to drag myself up and started walking again. And I kept walking and asking God to take me out of this situation. Please, I need help. And as I was walking, there was another light, and I said, thank God. And this was one person. He was also a hunter, and he said, Miss Lady, what happened to you? What you doing here? And I explained to him what happened, how the guys raped me. And he said, oh my gosh, let me help you. I can help you, take you out of here. And we walked, and another short distance away, he decided this is the way he's going to help me. Rape again. And the pain, it was a struggle. It was so hurting, and I didn't know what to do, and I was just crying. And he left me there. And I could have hardly, if it was so much pain to even get back up on my feet.
Right.
You know? But I managed to, right? And I guess it's God. God made me get back up on my feet and continue to walking. And by this time, daylight, the place started to get bright. And I started to hear traffic on the road. So I'm following now the traffic that I'm hearing. And I'm walking through the bushes, and I came up to a road.
And you were bare feet?
Bare feet. Man, when I got out of there, if you see razor cuts all over my skin with grass, and if you had, I was smelling bad, I was looking bad, I was feeling bad. And so there I started hitchhiking, trying to get a drop, but scared now because the two sets of people said they was going to help me. Yes. So I'm flagging down things, and this man with a van stopped. And he said, where you going? I'm going to Rima. I didn't even know where I was. And he said, well, okay, come, I'll give you a drop. But I hesitated so much because I just playing back what just happened.
Yes.
And he said, but look at your condition, Miss Lady, you need to get off the street like that. And he said, come in, I'll drop you where you're going. And I'm in the vehicle, and I'm squeezing the door, holding the handle, wanting to get out because in case I wanted to jump out. But he was genuine, right? You know where I was? In Karuni.
Wow.
From Arima, through the bushes, I don't know how I end up in Karuni.
Now, any of these people alive today? Have you know anything about them? The lady who dropped you there and the guys who left you there?
The lady who dropped me there is dead.
She dead?
Yes, she died. She died a sad death.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I hope she's enjoying herself in here.
She died. Some of the guys has passed away also.
And none of these hunters, you wouldn't recognize them if you see them. Because,
if I see them, I would not know them today.
Wow. That's how brutal life is out there, folks. That's how brutal it is for women. Mm-hmm. It's really difficult for women in addiction and to recover. You know, it's really sad. But I mean, you know, final reflection for meaning of freedom, message to women in recovery, and of course the vision for Serenity Places, you know, future.
Freedom, yes, we want to be free from drugs. When you stop using it, it's a freedom. It's a nice place to be, but with freedom comes, you need to have a purpose, and with that purpose comes responsibility. You know, you have to learn that. You have to be able to do that. You cannot live, because recovery for me is purposeful living. So the purpose that drives you to continue to move on, to go on, the motivation, that if you don't have a purpose, then you're not motivated to do anything. You're just existing, you know. So it is important to find your purpose. And once you find your purpose, you'll be responsible. You learn responsibility for your life. You manage your life. You take care of yourself, you know. And I want women out there, those who are in use, please don't give up. Do you know, find some way, find that time, that place where you call rock bottom. There is that for everybody. There is that for everybody. You may want to come out and don't know how, but don't stop asking for help. That is the main thing. Ask for help. Because you never know when a person wants help, you know. That's why Serenity Place is open for people. They come back once, they come back twice, they come back 3 times. Because you don't know when a person is ready.
Right.
You know, so you give them the opportunity. Even though sometimes they come at the gate, you can tell based on your experience with them that they're not ready.
Yep.
But yet still you give them the chance. Because you don't know if something will stick this time.
Right.
So you keep the door open, you know, and you reach out and you say, okay, I'm here again. They're going to try again. I'm here with you. I'm going to walk with you. But the decision is yours at the end of the day.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Independency. Beverly, you know that part you just explained, and people want to speak to you, so we'll open up the lines in a minute or two. But you see that, what you just explained there, Natasha, we see this in movies already, where woman is, raped, gang raped, and then you go for help for somebody, and you get raped again. And, I'm just picturing, all bruised and tattered and bloodied, and your clothes rip up and walking, and you shouldn't have love for humanity. You should have been a bitter, heartless person, and looking now to set up men and take them out one by one.
But to what avail? To accomplish what at the end of the day?
Revenge. You should have been killing people. I mean, you decide you want to help people instead.
Yeah, because the pain that I experience, I'm a woman, and if this is what women go through, no, I don't want them to go through that. I want to help them out of that.
Right.
So revenge is not an option. Recovery is.
Yeah, you should have been a better person, but you're not.
There is no need for. God did not design me that way, to be bitter.
Yes.
He designed me to forgive, to spread His love, to share His love, to understand rather than to be understood. So I don't have a bitter bone in my body. I don't like enemies. Somebody rubbed me the wrong way. Okay, all right, that's okay. And if they come back tomorrow for help, I will help them.
Yes. Sash, could we take some calls for Bev?
Yes,
or you have
absolutely.
any questions? Oh,
Well,
and you could tell people who want to donate to Serenity Place, folks, please do that. Leave some information online. We'll put it on Facebook and YouTube for you. And please, right in Cochrane Village in Point Fortin, and those of you who live in Point Fortin, if you didn't know about Serenity Place, now you know. So please,
I'm tagging the Serenity Place in the comments, so you can look for it there as well. I will do the same on YouTube.
Right. Is there a number, Bev, that people can...
Yes, 794-7980.
794
7980 or 328-6298. 328-6298.
All right, let's take some calls. 622-3937. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Happy 63rd Independence Anniversary to the country, the St. Clair's and Sister Morson.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sister, you have been there, you have done that. Who knows it feels it, and who feels it knows it. May Jah light, blessings, love, guidance, and protection continue to be showered upon you, so that you'll continue to assist those females who need direction to walk the straight and narrow road.
Thank you, my brother.
Doing what you are doing. God bless, save your home, and please continue your work.
Thank you very much.
Hello, good morning.
A very pleasant good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. And I want to engage you, Mr. Sinclair. Are you hearing me, Mr. Sinclair?
Yes, we have a guest, but you want to engage me? Go ahead.
No, Miss Beverly, kudos to you for your recovery and for your message. I respect it, and I will engage you after. Let me deal with Mr. Sinclair first. Mr. Sinclair, you said something, because Beverly is just a member of this statistics, right? You have been doing human service as well as Mr. Wilson. And I'm challenging Mr. Padaras. I'm challenging him in terms of the funding, because when they start funding and Mr. Sinclair drives a Audi, they say, well, he's getting beside himself. I'm also challenging Mr. Dwight York, Russell Latapy, and in addition, I am also challenging the young man who needs to direct in a more positive way, Naked, and all of them in relation to funding for positive activity. And when Mr. Sinclair earns an honest dollar and decides to drive an Audi, they're not behaving a particular way. And I'm saying that, and I'm building that on this. Do you remember Bertel Sinclair? I'm speaking to Mr. Dwight York, and I'm building that on this. Do you remember Bertel Sinclair? I'm speaking to Mr. Dwight York. Very highly intelligent.